He defied the odds to win one of British boxing's biggest domestic fights ever by moving up to heavyweight to stop the former world champion David Haye. Tony Bellew, WBC cruiserweight champion, and his trainer Dave Caldwell join us now. Great to see you. Thank you so much for coming into the studio not so long after the fight. And Tony, first of all, huge congratulations. A stunning victory, real drama in this fight. And you said after the fight you felt like you'd been hit by a JCB. Yes. How do you feel a few days on?
Do you know what? I feel OK today now. This is the first day where I haven't felt any pain besides the hand. That's a bit of a mess, but I'm happy. I'm happy and content, and the most important thing is we're both healthy and safe. That's the most important thing to me. David's got an injury to the right Achilles. I've got an injured right hand, but we're home safe, and you know, that's the most important thing here.
You're quite right, and the fight was characterised by these two injuries, what you suffered, and of course Haye has since undergone Achilles reattachment surgery. He told us yesterday that it felt like his leg went into a bear trap. If you can remember back to that moment, what did you think was going on?
To be honest, I can't remember back to that moment because he'd hit me with the best he had in them first 4 rounds, and everything was a bit of a daze at times in the fight. So David hits very hard. He caught me clean with the best shots he had in them early rounds, and I think people seem to forget that because the first thing that's on everybody's lips now is, well, David was injured and he's hurt himself in the 6th round, but what we fail to recognise is this same man said he was going to blast me and drill me in the first 2 rounds, and I wasn't moving. Yes, he has felt an injury and his Achilles has been hurt, but no more hurt than my right hand. It's just something that we go through in sports, and I admire him. He showed great bravery on the night. He really, really did, and hats off to him because I've always... Listen, I said don't quit to him in the build-up, and I just want to get in his mind. If I actually never said that in the build-up, I actually believe he would have got pulled out maybe after 6 rounds because everybody could see the tide was turning. My game plan and what we said in the build-up fell exactly the way we said it. The early rounds was going to be lost. I mean, I thought I actually won the first round. I came off better in the first exchange with a left hook. He leaps back, and then he tries to get the range. He struggled with the range with me all night. You know, my footwork is very, very underrated, and the short steps out of range was what made him fall short. And it was just, you know, things like that that made a big difference in the fight. I shouldn't say overestimate him, but I built him up in my mind to be the formidable force that he is, the great heavyweight, the last undisputed cruiserweight champion of the world, the former heavyweight champion. In my mind, I was going in against King Kong, and I had to really show everyone that I was up at that level. And although he's as strong as I believed he was he as quick? Maybe not. Was he as good? Maybe not. And even in the beginning of the fight when he was at his best.
And seeing him here, you can see on his haunches, and obviously the Achilles is really coming into play here. Did you ask the ref to stop the fight? Were you aware of how severe the problem was, and therefore you thought, do you know what, it's best if we just call it off now? No,
to be honest, at the start, when if everybody looks back at the end of the 5th round, there's an exchange between me and David. David hits me with a big 1-2 and a left hook. I think it's in the 5th round. And at the end of the 5th round, I said to him, David, you're blowing, son. You are blowing. And if you look back at the fight, the end of the round, he just shakes his head and he can't believe it. And it's at that moment I knew he could not believe I'd taken what he's dealt out. And I know that I'm only going to get stronger now as the fight goes on. And that was in the 5th. In the 6th, what happened. But let's not forget, I'd taken everything this man could throw at me. I took what some of the best heavyweights in the world couldn't take. I have endured a lot of pain in them first 4 or 5 rounds, and then I'm starting to have my way in them 5th and 6th rounds, and you know, the tide was about to change.
And certainly David did say that after the fight, that he couldn't believe that you were able to withstand those punches. But Dave, from your perspective, were you surprised that the towel hadn't been thrown in earlier?
It's very difficult to say because I'm not in his corner. I don't know what conversations are going on. Looking back at it, I think there was a couple of rounds earlier where I think Shane did ask him, do you want me to pull you out? For me, if you're going to ask the fighter, then really, you as a trainer believe that he should be pulled out, because no fighter's going to say, yeah, pull me out. Or very, very few fighters, especially with a fight with a build-up about this. We'd said about quitting and things like that. You know, there was no way that David Haye was going to quit. So if that thought came into your mind as a coach, really, that's the time you've got to be responsible to take that action and say, listen, you know, you've got an injury. you're out, save yourself for another day.
And sometimes you know you're going to upset, for example, Tony, if that was the case.
Yeah, 100%, because no fighter wants to quit. And, you know, you've seen the heart and the bottle that Haye showed. You know, he showed that he's a real warrior. I know that my man here won't ever quit. So his career and his you know, lives are in our hands at the end of the day. You know, we have to make that call. And like I said, if you're going to ask that question, then deep down yourself, you think maybe the time's right.
What was your perspective as a trainer, Dave, on the actual stoppage itself? In fact, let's just show you those pictures now as David Haye, well, the decision was taken for him, as we were talking about. Just talk us through this, Dave. You know, what's the feeling from you in the opposite corner at this point? Are you thinking it's got to happen soon?
For me, it was just a case that Tony was on top, and it was just don't walk onto something. You know, don't give him an opportunity. I was happy with him exchanging. I was happy with him attacking, as long as he was thinking about what was coming back. Because David, whenever David's in the ring, he's always dangerous because he possesses that power.
So you weren't even thinking that he could be stopped at some point?
That's not my call. No, that's not my call. As long as Tony carries on doing what the game plan was and what was working in the fight, then sooner or later we would stop him. When that comes, that's down to the referee. That's down to how much punishment David can take himself. But at that stage, you want the fight to be ended, because whenever you're in with a dangerous puncher, you don't want the fight to go any longer than you know. Even if you're in complete control, there is always that thing. You know, he'd come back to the corner, and I would always say to him, always be aware of what's coming back, because if you walk onto a shot, it can change the course of a fight straight away.
We saw there at the end of the fight how Tony, one of the first things you wanted to do was to go to David and commiserate him, I guess. A lot of respect then at the end of the fight.
One thing, you know, how we felt about each other before the fight is a completely different way. But once you do share the ring with someone, once you go to war with someone, once you dish out your best and vice versa, and you're in that situation where it sounds crazy, it's life and death, you're in there, and you can see this guy wants it just as much as you, and you're like two animals in a cage, you know, you have a different type of respect for someone. And there's a prize fight, you're in beast mode, you just want to do damage. It's not a normal thing to get in a ring and push your body to limits like boxers do. So out the ring, you can't expect us to be 100% normal all the time.
What do you make of that then, Tony?
I think it's shown a more humble side to him, which he needed to show, because in the build-up to this fight he said some horrendous things. It was at one stage that I had to, well, I did send my children and my missus away from the country, because I didn't want them to hear what he's saying. My missus was in tears about this man saying how he's going to put me in hospital and he's going to end my career on that night. So I sent him to Dubai because I didn't want him to hear any more that he had to say, in all honesty. So, you know what? I've looked at it back, and the big thing for me is I've just been me. This whole build-up, I've just been me, and I was there at the end. And would he have shown the same compassion to me if he'd have done to me what he said he was going to do in 1 or 2 rounds? He'd have just belittled me, laughed at me, and made a fool of me. And you know, he really would have. It would have been tough to... There was no way back for me. So for me to actually just turn on its head, and then I looked at him, and while my promoter and my trainer were jumping for joy and screaming at me, I looked at the man, and he was hurt, and he was badly hurt, and he didn't have one person close to him, and I'm going to be totally honest, who really cared, who wanted to help him back, and I did. And I looked at David and I thought, I removed Shane out the way, because at the end of the day, they're just pieces of meat to him, and I felt for David, because I know what it's like to be a loser. I know what it's like to be stopped on my feet, and I just wanted to help him back to his stool. So,
future then? Rematch trilogy, David Haye has been mentioning. You laugh. What are your
trilogy?
Yeah.
I'm gonna take time. I mean, I know what my coach wants. My coach wants me to stop, because it's the perfect time to do it. But I'll be totally honest.
Why do you want him to stop?
Because he's achieved everything that needs to be achieved. You know, his dream was to fight for a world title at Goodison Park, become world champion. That was what we set out to do. We achieved that. This was the icing on top. You know, it's a massive mega fight. The public's all talking about it. It's a different level sort of fight. He did what everybody said he couldn't do when he went in there and beat David Haye. You know, so for me, I want him to walk away safe, sound, enjoy the rest of his life with his family. he's intellectual. He speaks really well in front of the camera. He's going to have a good career in front of him.
We've got literally 30 seconds left. Why tempting to carry on then? Why don't you want to retire? Why not take that option?
I'll make the best decision for me and my family. The next decision won't be made with David Haye in mind. The next decision won't be made with boxing in mind. The next decision will be made with me and my family in mind, and we will go from there. So I can't tell you, yes, I'm going to retire. I can't tell you, yes, I'm going to fight again, because the true fact of it is, I don't know. What I do know is it will take something very, very big to draw me out of that bed.